Resident Evil 4. The best game in the entire series. You can't convince me otherwise. Like, it's not even an opinion anymore, it's a factual statement. We all know the Resident Evil games, whether it be from Resident Evil 1's iconic first encounter, if you will, or from Resident Evil 5 with the funny rock punch guy. The early Resident Evil games are, dare I say, perfect. More specifically, Resident Evil 4. The game was released on January 11th, 2005 for PS2, Xbox 360, GameCube, and even the fucking Wii later down the line. The game was the first in the series to really lean into the action side of things rather than just, ooh, the spooky, but you have the gun. Regardless, Resident Evil 4 was an astounding hit for Capcom, with most of the reviews being high 4s all the way up to perfect 5 out of 5s. Needless to say, it was an instant classic. Even the remake was highly praised, pulling in just under 114,000 overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam alone. Now, I'm not going to be getting into the remake in this video, but I will be playing through it on Twitch very soon after this video's release, so go follow that if you want to watch some very mediocre gameplay. Alright, self-promo out of the way, back to the game.
Resident Evil.
Resident Evil. 4. God, hearing that intro after like a solid decade just wrestles my fucking jimmies. The game starts with Leon explaining what happened after the events of Resident Evil 1 and 2. He tells us the murders in the Arklay Mountains and subsequent viral outbreak in Raccoon City were actually the fault of none other than Umbrella. Shocker. With no other options left, the president decided it'd be better off to just nuke the whole city to stop the outbreak before it could spread further, which, it's America, so that checks out. With Raccoon City successfully converted into the location of the next Fallout game, the US government orders a suspension of business decree to Umbrella, causing their stock prices to crash. Leon finishes up his late-night monologue, and it's revealed that 6 years have passed since then. We cut to Leon in the back of a Spanish police car that we know is Spanish because of the flamenco classical guitar with rhythmic clapping and harmonizing woman. One of the officers asks why we're here in the first place, and Leon tells him we're searching for the president's missing daughter.
My assignment is to search for the president's missing daughter.
What?
Later down the road, the unnamed officer has to go pee-pee because he didn't go before we left, even though we asked if he was sure he didn't have to go. We stop on the side of the road so he can go, and we get the first of the spooky, scary moment with a POV shot of an unknown third party. Is it a monster? A ghost, perhaps? We don't know! With his bladder empty, we carry on until we find a small house deep in the woods. Leon offers to go in alone because he's an idiot and has never seen a single horror movie in his life, so we do just that. Just before we go exploring and whatnot, we get a call from a woman by the name of Ingrid Hunnigan, and she'll be our support on this mission.
I'm Ingrid Hunnigan. I'll be your support on this mission.
She explains that the president's daughter, Ashley Graham, has been taken by an unknown group and that we need to find out who done it and return the stolen girl. Making our way to the front door of the house, we notice it's left ajar, so we just walk on in. Once in the kitchen, we find a man who really doesn't like when people just stroll into his house, which, yeah, I think that's reasonable. He tries to defend his home because it's his God-given right, but we quickly dispatch him. Just as we do that, though, the very suspicious-looking truck outside floors it into the car we arrived in, destroying the bridge back and our two beloved unnamed officers. May they rest in peace. Taking a look at the innocent homeowner we just murked reveals that he's not a zombie, but there's definitely something wrong with him. Yeah, I don't think he's a zombie. A few more locals barricade the front door, trapping us inside, so we have to go upstairs in hopes of finding a different way out. Our only option is to do a super sick front flip out of the second-story window, then we kill the locals. With no other way out of this mess, we push on further into the village, finding a dog stuck in a bear trap, which made me feel much less guilty about our little breaking and entering quadruple murder escapade. We free him because he ain't do nothing, and he sprints off into the woods. A little ways down the path, we find a very decorative door leading us to the village square, where we find one of the officers hung up and burned at the stake, which... owie. We try to rizz up one of the locals, but she didn't like that too much, and she sicks the entire village on us. Hello, fine shits. Including Mr. Funny Chainsaw Man. After finding a shotgun and a bit of high IQ gaming maneuvers... Oh, I found the sweet spot. No, I didn't. The church bell rings, indicating that it's time for weekly bingo, and the locals really do not want to miss out.
Where's everyone going? Bingo?
Yeah, that's just the first 15 minutes of the fucking game, by the way. Talk about a hell of a first impression. Hunnigan rings us up and we tell her about the wacky and wild hijinks we've been subjected to. Then she tells us to follow the trail closest to the tower we just sat in like a little bitch. We do just that and it leads to a farmstead with some less than ecstatic villagers who we quickly take care of. We continue on following the trail when we get our very first QuickTime event. Yay! A few villagers push a boulder down a hill with the aim of crushing us like it's a fucking Indiana Jones trap, but fortunately for us, we managed to dodge it. Moving further down the path, we find a few more small cabins, and inside one is a room that's been half-assedly hidden by a bookshelf. So, we push the bookshelf out of the way and enter the room to find a very haunted wardrobe that keeps making a thudding sound. We're very brave though, so we investigate the wardrobe, and out pops a very alive-looking and tied-up ghost.
Little rough, don't you think?
We untie him and we get a Nirvana reference.
Perfect. The big cheese.
Then we get to meet this fucking behemoth. His name is Torres Mendez, and he's the leader of the village area. You can tell he's one of the bosses because Leon's kick does nothing to him. We're incapacitated, then in a dream or a vision, I don't really know, it's not made that clear, shows Osmond Sadler, the top dog, injecting the Las Plagas parasite into our neck. We wake up in a different room, tied back to the not-so-dead ghost fella. We finally have enough time to exchange pleasantries, and we find out this ghost isn't actually a ghost at all, and that his name is Luis Serra.
What, are you supposed to be a cop or something? Nah, you don't look the type.
Maybe.
He says while I'm dressed in a fucking raccoon
Okay,
city
let me
police
guess.
uniform.
She's the president's daughter.
Who might you be?
Me llamo Luis Serra.
We ask him about Ashley, and it turns out that he already knows she's the president's daughter. Awful suspicious, if you ask me, now isn't it?
Okay, let me guess. She's the president's daughter?
That's too good for a guess. Want to start explaining?
No, it's not. He explains he overheard one of the villagers say something about the president's daughter in the church.
I overheard one of the villagers talking something about the president's daughter in the church.
Luis also tells us he used to be a cop, but he's moved on to better things.
I used to be a cop in Madrid. But now I'm just a good-for-nothing guy who happens to be quite a ladies' man.
In the middle of our little chat, a very rude and attention-hungry villager comes in, swinging an axe at us, but we're cool as fuck and also epic, so we dodge the attack, breaking the chains holding us and Luis together.
Now!
We retaliate with a swift kick, completely obliterating the villager, but Luis, not wanting to be an acquaintance in our murder, runs off. After another quick FaceTime call from Hunnigan, we finally get to meet the best non-playable character in any Resident Evil game. The Merchant.
Got something that might interest you.
He'll be the one we get most of our supplies from, just not first aid sprays, because that motherfucker never has them when you need them. You can find collectible items throughout the game that are only ever really used to sell to the merchant, most of which can be combined to increase the value, but I couldn't figure out what jewels could go in what items, so I just ended up selling everything by itself. I could have looked at a guide, but I didn't feel like it. Leave me alone. On top of buying new, better weapons, you can upgrade your current arsenal. Further towards the end of the game, if you buy every single upgrade for a weapon, you get one final exclusive upgrade, which could be a higher DPS stat, double fire rate, or double ammo capacity, depending on the weapon. Moving back to the plot, though, we carry on to wipe out even more villagers because we just cannot help ourselves. Then we stumble upon another house, shocker, that appears to belong to Osmond Sadler. There he is, shoot him! Get him, I see him right there! Oh, it's a fucking painting. Or at least you'd assume it is, because there are not just one, but two portraits of him in his bedroom. Turns out, though, it's not Sadler's house, and that it's actually Mendez's house, which... I'm an ally, but two fucking portraits? Brother, you're obsessed. Anyway, Mendez catches us breaking and entering again and tries to strangle us, but he says something a little strange.
You carry the same blood as us, it seems.
After our altercation, Hunnigan rings us up again, telling us there's a religious cult involved, which is just news to me. I couldn't have possibly guessed that on my own. She tells us they go by the Los Illuminados. We get another Nirvana reference, then we go on about our mission. Before we leave Mendez's house, though, I would just like to make it known that he has a urinal in his bathroom, and that's it. He's been shitting in the urinal? Toilet paper implies he shits in the urinal. He shits in his urinal, and I know he shits in it because there's fucking toilet paper right next to it. Okay, that's all I wanted to say. Getting back on track, though, we go back to the main village with the church key we retrieved from Mr. Obsessive's bedroom and use it to get into the weekly bingo tournament. Unfortunately for Leon, though, it looks like we were a little too late as everyone already left. We do, however, find the merchant again, and he's got something that might interest ya.
Got something that might interest you.
Not really, it's the same stuff, I just really wanted to say that. We finally find the church that Ashley's being kept in, but oh no, it's locked! Who could have foreseen this coming? We go down a nearby trail until we find a boat docked on the lake, where if you shoot the water enough times, you end the game very early on. However, we're not going for the bad ending, so we get on the boat and get the first boss fight of the game against the monster titled Del Lago. The rope used to dock our measly vessel gets stuck on Mr. Lago, and we have to throw harpoons at him until he gets a little angry and fucks off. Barely making it out of the lake alive, Leon gets a funny cough where blood comes out, which is not supposed to happen. He passes out for 6 whole hours.
Leon, it's been 6 hours since our last transmission.
And wakes up from a spooky, scary nightmare. Hunnigan calls again, wondering where the fuck we could have possibly been for 6 hours. We tell her what happened, what with the coughing up blood thing and all that, and she recalls the last thing Mendez said to us.
Anyway, I started to feel dizzy, and then I guess I must have lost consciousness.
Lost consciousness? Maybe that has some connection to what the village chief was talking about.
Can't say.
Oh well, I doubt it's related though. We find an anonymous letter left in the boathouse, presumably written by Luis, telling us that there's an important item left in the falls that could help us get Ashley out of the church. The letter also warns us that the only path back to the church leads straight to something called El Gigante, which... yeah, seems pretty gigante to me. This boss fight was a lot easier than I remember it being, honestly. You just run around this little area trying not to get squished by Mr. Large, taking as many shots as possible before running again. We also get a returning cameo from Bear Trap Dog himself, who helps us by distracting Sir Massive, letting us get even more shots in before he gets tired and has to take a break, conveniently exposing a crit point. After showing Senior Big a little taste of British culture, he finally croaks and we make our way to the church. Getting inside, though, the room Ashley is held in is blocked off by a locked gate, which only opens after solving a relatively easy puzzle where you just spin the funny colors until they match up with the insignia in the middle. Solving the puzzle grants access to the blocked off room, and we finally get to Ashley.
Hey, take it easy.
What the fuck?
Calm down.
Why does a 2005 game have oh my god, I'm flustered. We call Hunnigan to tell her about the good job we did, and she tells us she's sending a helicopter to pick us up. She tells us the extraction point is just beyond another trail that'll take us out of the village, so we make our way there. On our way, though, Hunnigan calls again with some bad news. She lost contact with the helicopter she sent, assuming it was shot down.
Leon, I have some bad news.
I'd rather not hear it.
Well, I'm afraid I have to tell you anyway. We've lost contact with the chopper. Someone must have shot it down, though we can't determine who.
Great.
She tells us to head to the extraction point anyways. We hang up and cross a bridge to find a bunch of villagers surrounding us.
What are we gonna do, Leon?
The only place to go is a little house which contains one Luis Serra, conveniently enough.
Leon! Small world, eh?
We send Ashley upstairs to hide while we try to hold off the villagers. After a few minutes, they finally fuck off because they're bored, and Luis goes on his own way because he forgot something.
I forgot something. You guys go on ahead.
We keep moving along until we find a little camp with a locked door, but the key is on a necklace around the neck of a chainsaw-wielding woman. This fight's not really difficult enough to call a full-on boss fight, but it's slightly harder than the villagers we've been maiming. These are the Bella sisters, but they're better known as Chainsaw Sisters. Real clever. Killing them and getting the key, we find a door with a retinal scanner, then move on to find a ski lift. Getting on it, we shoot a bunch of villagers trying to get on our lift, while Ashley does a little fist pump for each shot. We keep moving until we stumble across an abandoned-looking barn, sending Ashley to hide just in case. Good thing we did that, though, because we're confronted by Mendez, who traps us inside with him. During our little scuffle, a red barrel tips over, and we know exactly what red barrels mean, so we shoot it, blowing it up under Mendez's feet.
Hasta luego.
Instead of just dying like everyone else because he wants to be different, he turns into a super scary monster, and it's very spooky. Shooting him enough times in his L3 vertebrae, he splits in half using his weird little spider legs to swing around on support beams trying to attack us. We finally kill him. And we just take his eyeball. You know, normal stuff, you get it. We take his eye and use it on the retinal scanner to unlock the door from earlier, where we come across a castle. More villagers appear, even trying to run us down with a fucking truck. We're clearly not shooting our way out of this though, so we flee to the castle and quickly raise the drawbridge. Navigating the castle, we run into more enemies, this time using trebuchets to try and stop us. They're not quite like the villagers, however, donning robes and masks rather than just plain clothes. We find a cannon and use it to blast through the main door, leading us deeper into the castle. We call Hunnigan again, but we lose signal just to make things even worse.
Great. Just my luck.
We also run into Luis again, who says he has a drug that'll temporarily stop our convulsions, but he quickly realizes he lost it somewhere.
What? Oh, shit! I must have dropped it when I was running away from them.
Dropped what?
A drug that'll stop your convulsions.
He runs off to retrieve it, and we part ways for the, fourth fucking time now? Navigating the castle, we find a very beautifully decorated room, where we get to meet Ramon Salazar.
I've been expecting you, my brethrens.
No thanks, bro.
Look how adorable this little guy is, even as a little pirate hat. After his kindergarten graduation speech, we stumble upon a corridor with two dragon heads breathing fire, cutting off our exit. The only way to get past is by pulling a lever in a small prison area with a very large, blind, and chained-up creature in one of the cells called the Garrador. Its eyes are literally sewn shut, so I think it's safe to assume he can't see us. It can, however, hear us, though. Going for the lever, the Garrador breaks his restraints and immediately targets us. There are two large bells on either side of the prison, and when shot, make a loud enough ding to send the Garrador sprinting towards the sound, getting his funny claw arms stuck in the wall and revealing a crit spot on his back. Once shot enough times, he dies, and that's it. Or, if you're a little fed up with not having enough ammo because the game wants to keep giving you fucking flash grenades you never use, you can just buy an RPG and speedrun this part. Flipping the lever and getting through the now deactivated dragon heads, we get to the most annoying part of this game. The water hall. I'm gonna do everyone, including myself, a favor by leaving it at that and skipping to the next part, because if you've played the game yourself, you share the same trauma this area has given me, and I do not want to talk about it. Like, I left Ashley in the room with the floor button thingies, and she still gets grabbed.
Oh, no.
How? Where the fuck did this guy come from, and how did he even get here? What are you doing? You said you wouldn't talk about it. Why are you talking about it? Whatever. Blah blah cranks. Blah blah Ashley. We end up in a large ballroom where Ashley has another coughing fit. She panics, runs off, and we get split up.
You alright?
I'm fine! Leave me alone!
Ashley, wait! Ashley!
What's going on?
We try to call Hunnigan again, but wait, that's not Hunnigan at all. Salazar picks up and says he let his insects out in the sewer, which is not an ideal place to keep your insects, I'd imagine. Once we're in the sewer, we run into the aforementioned insects, called the Novistadors, which seem to have a cloaking ability. That or they got hold of the Harry Potter blanket. We eventually come across a maze-like garden, to which Salazar calls again and says we will satisfy the stomachs of his pets, which was really nice. He didn't have to say that, but I appreciate that.
You will satisfy the stomachs of my cute pets.
Running through the maze, we're attacked by a bunch of rabid-infected dogs, which are easy enough to demolish, allowing us to fetch 2 halves of a moonstone, whatever that is, granting us access to the next part of the castle. Once we enter, though, an unknown figure presses a gun to our back. After a little scuffle, it's revealed to be Ada Wong.
Long time no see.
We have a little chat to catch up, and then she uses her super high-tech glasses to make her escape.
See you around.
Deeper into the castle, we come across a dining room with a little bell that, when rung, swings a wall around, exposing a bottle of wine that you're supposed to shoot to unlock the next door. Some really intricate locking mechanisms in this place, I tell you. Just imagine how much of a pain in the ass going to the bathroom in the middle of the night must be. I think I'd rather just piss out of my bedroom window, and even then you'd probably have to solve a fucking puzzle just to get the window open. The next room has a little chest on a pedestal, but when we try to open it, a cage thingy about the same size as a $5,000 a month apartment in New York drops down, trapping us inside. There's also another Garrador stuck in here with us, and a bunch of cultists, and a bunch of fucking archers surrounding the cage, taking pop shots at us just to make it that much more claustrophobic. It also doesn't help that I kinda wasted my 1 RPG on the first Garrador because I had had enough of his shit. But still, we kill it and the cultists and grab an hourglass out of the chest. It's not some fancy key or anything, it's literally just a collectible, and dare I say, it's not worth it. Moving on, we finally run into Luis again, and he brought a vaccine for Ashley and I, and now we can all live very long and prosperous lives.
Oh, spoke too soon it seems.
Sadler, after penetrating Luis with the massive tentacle under his robes, takes the sample and the vaccine, leaving Luis for dead. He does one final good deed and hands us a bottle of suppressants for the parasite, then finally bleeds out. Rest in peace, my sweet prince. Just a few steps away from Luis's still warm corpse, we see Ashley, still restrained. We shoot her restraints to finally free her because she ain't do nothing, but a group of cultists are trying to get to her, so we have to shoot at them from above to keep them away from her. After fending them off, Ashley finds a way back to us, and here we actually get to play as Ashley. I actually really like this part. It's a complete shift in gameplay compared to the normal run-and-gun style we've gotten used to so far. Ashley has absolutely zero combat experience, making this section much more nerve-wracking in comparison. Literally the only attack she can do is throw a gas lantern at a couple of enemies to light them on fire, and even still, that doesn't even kill them. It just stuns them so you have enough time to open doors to the next areas. I will say though, I think the remake did a much better job at conveying the horror aspect of this part, but still, I like them both. Anyway, we get Ashley back to Leon and they're finally reunited, and that's definitely the last time we'll be getting split up in this playthrough. Salazar calls again and Leon decides he wants to break the fourth wall.
Why don't you do us all a favor and leave before the audience gets pissed off?
We make our way through more of the castle, we run into Salazar himself, but this time, he's not playing no games. Except, yes, he is, because whoever installed this roof trap thingy left one very, very major design flaw. Shooting the 4 red lights that are blatantly exposed stops the trap and we leave, completely unsquished. We get to what looks like a ballroom when a Novistador steals Ashley, making my past statement completely false and stupid. We catch back up to Salazar and Ashley when little fella pulls a Looney Tunes on us, activating a trapdoor and sending us to death.
No! Leon!
Rest in peace, Leon. But wait, not actually though, because we're fucking epic, so we throw a grappling hook at the last second to save ourselves. Trekking through the sewers, our POV jumps to something that doesn't sound very friendly. We find an elevator, but uh-oh, the power no worky, so we have to turn it back on. While searching for the power switch, the creature that was stalking us starts throwing little jabs at us through the floor and the ceiling until we get the power on, and then it finally reveals itself. This creature is called the Verdugo, and it's without question one of the hardest non-bosses in this game. It only appears once in the game, and it's during this section. Its skin acts as kind of an armor, making normal attacks pretty much useless, but there are liquid nitrogen tanks around the area that we can tip over to freeze him, then get a few shots in. Now, you can kill the Verdugo with the liquid nitrogen method, or you can just keep running around wasting time until the elevator finally turns back on and just skip the fight entirely, saving a decent chunk of your ammo. Getting on the elevator, a cutscene plays showing Sadler sitting in his throne talking to someone Leon knows very well, Jack Krauser. Now, I'm not very well versed in the entire lore of the Resident Evil series. I have a decent enough grasp on the basics, but I don't really know much more beyond that, so I'm going to read you the background section on the Resident Evil wiki to give you some backstory here. Major Jack Krauser was an agent for the Third Organization during the War on Terror and a supporter of Dr. Albert Wesker. Previously a soldier within U.S. SOCOM known as Silverdax, he was forced into retirement after a 2002 mission to South America with U.S. Stratcom agent Leon S. Kennedy. During his employment within the organization, Krauser took part in the infiltration of Los Illuminados to obtain a Plaga parasite. Okay, so him bad guy, we good guy, we want kill bad guy and be epic. Back to the game though, Sadler sends Krauser off to get Ashley since Salazar is just entirely incompetent. Meanwhile, we're back in the mines, but we don't have a pickaxe to swing side to side, side to side, so we just use explosives instead to move forward. The next area, however, has not one, but two L-Bigs that we have to kill. One of which can be killed by pulling a lever to open up the big metal opening in the middle of the floor, but if we try to do the same thing for the second one, the lever just stops working. Oh no! Regardless, we take him down the normal way and move on. Please just die already. Thank God. Never mind. I just jumped into him. After a Minecraft reference, we finally get back to the castle where we find a very large statue version of Salazar, which is funny because he is not that big at all. Of course though, our only exit to this area becomes inaccessible because of some really annoying cultists, so we kill them, pull the switches, and carry on with no more distraction. Okay, well, the big statue chases us and we get a classic Resident Evil 4 QuickTime event. Regardless, we get away unscathed and move on into our next and possibly easiest boss fight against Salazar.
Not to worry. We've prepared a special ritual for you.
I'm very certain this fight is not supposed to be done this way, but if you just sit in this little cubby in back here, you can just keep shooting the funny eye thing, and when Salazar exposes himself, just switch to the broken butterfly and get as many shots on him as you can until he dies. The only real threat doing it this way is the little spider things that drop down and attack you, but, I mean, if you've been upgrading your shotgun up to this point, you just shoot them once and you have another 30-ish seconds to keep targeting Salazar. We defeat him, then carry on until we stumble upon a dock with none other than Ada herself, seemingly waiting for us.
Need a ride, handsome?
She gives us a ride to the island Ashley's being held on,
Women.
where we find a laboratory-esque building, and as we move through the building, we can hear Ashley calling for us. We stumble upon a CCTV feed where we see her in a cell with two soldier-like ganados, who very quickly notice we're watching and shut the cameras off. They shut them off from inside the cell, which seems like that maybe shouldn't be there? Anyway, plowing through more ganados, we find the actual laboratory part, and this part contains the single best enemy in the game, or at least in my opinion. The introduction to it is fucking perfect. The music reduces to these droning, mechanical-esque noises, almost reminding me of something from Silent Hill, until you get into the lab with one of these things on an operating table where all the music just stops. You pick up one of Luis's lab notes talking about how the creatures we've seen prior are nothing in comparison to this one. You keep reading to see that they're referred to as regenerators, alluding to the fact that they can regenerate any wounds or even entire body parts in seconds. All the while, you're just waiting in anticipation for the one on the table one room over to get up. Everything seems fine for now. Maybe it's dead already or it was a failed experiment. Until you pick up that keycard. The second you turn to leave, you hear a crash followed by a heavy breathing, almost choking sound. You leave the room and you're immediately face to face with this abomination, and all that tension turns into dread and adrenaline. I don't know why this game didn't lean more into the horror aspect. Just this little 2-minute section did it so unbelievably well, and honestly, a little part of me kinda wishes they included more of that. I don't think the game would be held to the same regard if that was the case though, so I'm not that upset by it, but it still would have been pretty neat. Now, I know I've been kinda glazing the regenerator a little bit, but there is one really easy way to kill these things. On its own, there's no blatant way to kill it. There's not some crit spot on its back or anything like that, but there is one, or a few spots, inside the creature. In another room of the labs, there's a thermal scope for your rifle, which when equipped, shows 3 to 4 hearts scattered inside the thing. Shooting all of them will permanently kill them. There's also a different variant of it, which just has spikes on it, and it's only marginally harder to kill. Back to the plot though, we finally get back to Ashley, again, and free her with our newly acquired keycard.
Leon!
We're about to leave when a paper airplane flies in through the window, presumably from Ada because there's a lipstick print on it. She tells us we can get out of here using the waste disposal vent, but Ashley doesn't seem too happy about that.
No way, Leon!
Way?
Getting past the waste disposal plant, we find a truck that Ashley offers to drive while we shoot from the back of it until we nearly avoid a head-on collision by crashing into a building instead. Conveniently enough, it just so happens to be a building we needed to go to anyways, so happy accident. Unfortunately though, we run into Sadler again, who uses the plaga to control Ashley into following him and leaving us stunned. As a last resort, Leon throws a tracking device on her, which I don't know why he didn't do that any of the, 5 other times she was kidnapped? Just as we enter another room, we get a cutscene with Ada and Krauser revealing they've both been working for Agent Wesker.
I don't trust you, nor does Wesker.
Holy freaking shit! Krauser tells Ada he'll kill her if she tries anything, but Ada hits him where it really hurts, by making him jealous because she's known Wesker a lot longer than he has.
You know, I met Wesker long before you.
We'll see soon enough if you did.
Well, Wesker likes me more than you. I've known him longer, so he basically hates you. No he doesn't. We're in love, actually. Moving through the facility, we finally get the classic QTE knife fight, which is much easier to do when you realize you can just spam A and D and both mouse buttons, and you never really have to think about it again. Leon realizes it was Krauser that kidnapped Ashley.
You're the one who kidnapped Ashley. You got John quick.
He goes on to tell us he wants to steal the sample Sadler took after killing Luis so he can bring it back to Wesker. We start to struggle a little when Ada reappears to save us. Then Krauser gets a little embarrassed and flees after calling her the bitch in the red dress.
Oh, if it isn't the bitch in the red dress.
Sadler calls again, pretty much just to offer a bit of banta.
Since you're here, why don't I introduce you to it? It should keep you busy.
Can't remember the name, huh? A senior moment, perhaps.
Oh,
Then we move through a laser grid to get to the throne room. The funny thing about the laser room that I never actually realized is the Resident Evil movie actually did it first, and this game took that and used it for itself. I always thought the game did it first and that the movie wanted to piggyback off of it, so you learn something new every day, I guess. Making it past the throne room, we find a set of very large doors, and behind them, we get the U3 boss fight. This fight was completely scrapped in the remake, which most people weren't too happy about, but there are a select few that actually liked this change. Being honest, I didn't really care either way. Sure, the fight's cool, but, you know, it's just another the big bad to waste your ammo on. Killing U3 opens an exit that leads to a very old-looking fortress where we run into Krauser again. He gives us some very useful information because he's just such a nice guy.
She's beyond that gate, but you'll need 3 insignias to open it. There's one in the north, and the other in the east.
And let me guess, you got the last one.
It pretty much means you're on a tight leash.
But uh-oh, no he isn't, because he starts attacking us again while we try to find the insignias. Anyway, we very easily retrieve the first one in the east, just as easily get the one in the west, then it's finally time to take this fella down. The Krauser fight is also pretty easy. All you really have to do is shoot his little toesies with a broken butterfly and he'll fall down because, owie, him feet hurt. Then you just take as many shots as possible before he gets back up. Easy peasy. We kill him, get the last insignia, then place the 3 pieces in the funny sliding wall to move to the next area, where we get to meet good old Mike.
It's about time.
sorry, bad traffic.
He's about to retire tomorrow, and he wanted to leave the Force with one final mission where nothing bad will ever happen to him. We find what seems to be a catacomb-like area where we run into Ada again. Leon, however, gets a little anxious around women, so he starts choking her, which I'm like 95% sure is not how you're supposed to express romantic feelings. She kicks our pee-pee, which is a pretty good sign that she did not like that. Further into the facility, we finally catch back up to Ashley, who is currently stuck in the same contraption Tuzio was stuck in from the Sopranos game. Eh? You like that shit? It's called a callback. My writing is now the same level as Family Guy, which is another fucking callback. Someone fucking stop me. Anyways, we've learned how these things work since then, and we free Ashley, which Sadler does not appreciate very much. He tries to give chase when Ada appears, flexing her max capacity upgraded TMP and stopping Sadler. We take Ashley to Luis's lab, where we're finally able to neutralize the parasite in both of us, making Sadler's powers stupid and dumb, and also useless on us now.
I don't know about you.
With the parasite gone, we leave Ashley behind and target Sadler. Turns out, he has stolen Ada, and we're not happy about that, so we do an epic knife throw to free her.
Better try a new trick, cause that one's getting old.
But then Sadler shows us his dinner from earlier, and it's very gross. I don't know if I'm just remembering the game wrong, or if I've just become such a fucking epic gamer since playing this in my youth, but Sadler's fight was so much easier than I recall it being. It's almost like a reskinned El Gigante fight that runs on slightly longer, where you shoot the little eyes on his legs, he falls, and you jump on him to give him the old British poke. It's okay, just slightly disappointing, I suppose. Once we deal enough damage to him, Ada throws us a special rocket launcher, which you can tell is special because the rocket in it is red. Taking him at Sadler, he's finally defeated, and the big bad is gone for good. We try to retrieve the Plaga sample he was keeping with him, but Ada called dibs on it. We try to explain to her that calling dibs doesn't count if we can't hear it, but she's too cool for rules and takes it anyways after pressing a gun to our head. She feels really bad about doing this though, because she jumps off the edge of the oil rig, ending her life. Rest in peace. Never mind, she just jumped into a fucking helicopter. She throws us a jet ski key. Jet ski key? Jet ski key. Jet ski key. Jet ski key. Jet ski key? She throws us a jet ski key and sets off the island's self-destruct sequence, which, of fucking course, the island has a self-destruct sequence. We run back to Ashley, hop on our super sick jet ski, dodge a bunch of falling debris, and do a super sick jump to make our escape. Ashley decides she wants to take a little swim, but quickly changes her mind because the water's too cold. After getting back on the jet ski, she asks if we want to do some overtime when we get back to her place.
So, after you take me back to my place, how about we do some, overtime?
Which, no. I've already been on shift for 12 fucking hours trying to save your dumbass. Why would I want to do even more? We ride off into the sunset and finally call Hunnigan to let her know we made it out alive. Then we live happily ever after. Alright, jokes aside, what a fucking game, dude. I don't need to say it because the game speaks for itself, but it is such an amazing addition to the franchise. The only thing I didn't like too much about it was the tank controls, but I mean, it's a third-person action game from 2005. What game didn't have tank controls around that time? Even still, there are mods nowadays that help modernize the controls for people like me wanting to revisit it, which I very, very highly recommend if you plan on playing this again. Not to mention, it's extremely easy to get your hands on this game since it's still listed on Steam 20 years post-launch, and it's only $5. Literally every game I've played on this channel has been emulated because of how annoying it would have been trying to get a hold of them, but this one was by far the easiest to get working with quality of life mods and actually playing it. Running on the newest version of Windows 11, the game didn't crash a single time, there was no stuttering, no weird bugs that happen when you're trying to play games this old on newer systems. It was perfect all the way through. The set pieces this game offers were good enough to keep me hooked. So much so that I'm trying to get this video done as quickly as possible just so I can play the remake again, which, again, I will be playing on my Twitch soon after this video releases. The horror aspects in this game, as little as they're used, sadly, were done flawlessly, harking back to the Regenerator introduction. Alright, this script is getting really long, so if I'm going to leave this with anything, it's that you should play this game for yourself. And the remake. Maybe. It depends if you like the original. Whatever, just go play it. It's worth the $5. Okay, that's the video. Like, subscribe. Bye.